Backstage, the Magic Kingdom whose personalities are the royalty of entertainment. On this program, another glittering lineup of stars and the glamour in which they live. You're about to have an intimate look at these and other well-known celebrities in their glamorous world called Hollywood.
Hello, I'm John Willis for Hollywood Star Newsreel. Once again, we're about to take you behind the scenes in Hollywood. Meet some of the great names in the entertainment field. A big premiere is always the high spot of an evening in Hollywood, and through the years, there have been many such high spots. In looking back, perhaps one of the biggest premieres, if not the biggest, celebrity-wise, was when Stanley Kramer premiered his comedy extravaganza, It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. Let's turn back the clock and relive that night. One of the first to arrive was George Burns. Cigar and all, a famous Burns trademark. Director Billy Wilder, a master in the making of light-hearted comical motion pictures, came to see what Mr. Kramer did with Mad World. And comedian Jack Carter joined the first nighters in spite of a cut hand, which he received from a champagne glass accident. Polly Bergen was one of the first of many very lovely ladies to arrive, but was closely followed by Maureen O'Hara, who got one of the biggest ovations of the evening from the mass of onlookers on hand for the event. Incidentally, the Cinerama Theater is the first motion picture house to be built in Hollywood in the past 3 decades. Janet Leigh was on hand for the Cedars Mount Sinai charity event as the huge contingent of celebrities made their way to the plush new theater. Also at the premiere, Milton Berle had a great time ad-libbing with English comedian Terry Thomas, who you see here. And when Rhonda Fleming arrived on the scene, the fans welcomed her with much enthusiasm. Seeing so many of the stars at one time is always a thrill for premiere goers, and lovely ladies like Barbara Rush and Edie Adams add spice to the evening. Next to arrive was the popular star of TV, James Garner. Then Miss Rosalind Russell, who did much to put this evening together on behalf of charity. Cesar Romero was on hand, as was another handsome gent for whom the fans raised their voices, Mr. Richard Egan. At every gathering such as this, there are some stars that seem to get unusual response, and surefire response gatherer is Zsa Zsa Gabor. She makes a grand entrance on any occasion, and especially so at a premiere such as this. The geodesic domed movie palace cost about $1 million to build, and the motion picture cost upwards of $10 million to produce. After the Mad, 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 Mad World movie was seen, a spectacular mad party in a specially constructed circus-like tent took place in the giant parking area surrounding the theater. Yes, this was a night Hollywood will remember for many years to come.
Indian chases and raids are perhaps the most exciting scenes in any Western movie, and one of the best takes place in the new version of the classic motion picture Stagecoach. The making of these scenes are thrilling and very dangerous. We're going to show you exactly how it's done for that picture. Let's go Hollywood Backstage for the making of a massacre.
Take Indians' fascinating characters, cavalry, guns, arrows, hatchets, a stagecoach, and you've got the makings of a very exciting motion picture. That's exactly what producer Monty Racken did in remaking the famous Western classic, Stagecoach. Add a seasoned director, Gordon Douglas, and top name stars Anne Margaret, Van Heflin, Bing Crosby, Red Buttons, Alex Cord, who plays the part that made John Wayne a star, and Mike Connors. Photograph the entire action on location in picturesque Boulder, Colorado, and you have the icing to this epic. Today they're shooting the Indian massacre scene. You're going to see exactly how it's done. Authenticity, real Indians are recruited from the Colorado Sioux Reservation. They're dressed in the historic garments of their ancestors. Even the horses have authentic markings. For dramatic effect, these stuntmen dressed as Indians were recruited from the 20th Century Fox Reservation. That's head stuntman Dick Hutkin. And these are actual soldiers called to duty for the scene. Guns, arrows, spears, tomahawks, and you're wrong if you think a guy can't get hurt out there. Director Douglas calls for action. The battle is about to begin. And this is no place for a producer and the pretty stars. Stephanie Powers on top of a horse for a better view. The action begins. Scenes of this type are shot on open prairies, and this is the first time a forest has been used. The road's bumpy and filled with obstacles like rocks, trees, and stumps. This is a very dangerous scene to shoot. There goes an Indian, and this is where the stuntmen are used. It's not easy falling off a horse without hurting yourself. The scene is completed to satisfaction, and producer Racken enjoyed it. Now the crew will set up for the actual massacre sequence. So it's time for relaxation, if you call this relaxing. And Margaret and the Watusi in the Wild West, Stephanie Powers goes through a judo workout. Now, this is more like it. Bing's got the right idea. This is relaxing. In this version, Bing plays the liquor-loving doctor for which Thomas Mitchell won his Academy Award. The beard's real. Here's a great souvenir to take back to the reservation. Now the Indians prepare their weapons for the scene in which the entire cavalry unit will be massacred. Well, it's not a musical. Again, director Douglas calls action. Blazing guns, flying arrows. It's as close to the real thing as possible. And I'm glad I wasn't around then and not too close now. Indian massacres have been seen in thousands of pictures, but each one's more exciting than the last. Watch this bit of action. Only the best stuntman can do. He's knocked down and dragged through the blazing fire. And that's not fake either. The massacre's finished. The cavalry dead, their belongings looted, and the Indians ride off in their infamous motion picture glory. Now, only the spoils and the dead bodies remain. It's sad to note that this was actually a part of our history. Director Douglas gives the scene every detail of his attention, making sure of complete authenticity and dramatic value. Then he shouts, "Cut!" Ran Margaret a sigh of relief. She's glad she wasn't out there. And that's The Making of a Massacre, a very important scene from the remake of the movie Stagecoach. Now that it's over, producer Racken and star Crosby get together for a moment of relaxation. And Crosby asks, "So what else is new?"
Hi there. I'm Army Archerd, waiting for a modern-day Josephine who'll take me up in her flying machine. This talented and beautiful star could make me feel lightheaded without even leaving the ground. Our guest is a talented young actress who starred in such pictures as Don't Go Near the Water, Girl of the Night, Blackboard Jungle, and many others. Let's walk over now and say hello to Miss Anne Francis. Good morning, Anne. How are you?
I'm just fine.
And I assume that this is your
Mel
instructor.
Lind.
Hello, Mel.
Nice to
meet you. I hope I didn't interrupt something very important
No,
here.
I just was checking the oil.
Well, in addition to checking out the oil, Anne, what else would you look for before taking off?
Well, we checked the gas in the wing there. We got the tank there. And the surfaces of the wings, and the rudder, and the ailerons.
But you seem to know what you're talking about. How long have you been interested in flying, Anne?
Well, since I was a little girl, just like kids nowadays are fascinated with becoming astronauts, I was going to be a test pilot. And I knew all the Army and Navy planes by heart. I could recognize each one that went over. And, about a year or so ago, I was thinking about flying again. I thought, well, why don't I go over and learn? So I came over and talked to Mel, and I'm trying.
What kind of a pilot we have here, Mel?
Well, she's a real good one, Army.
And now, Anne, may we follow some of your progress as you learn to fly?
Okay, fine, Army.
Batten down the hatches first.
Okay.
Here we go.
Flying a plane is serious business to anyone, but especially to a student hoping someday to earn the right to solo. For our star, Anne Francis, the right to solo or fly a plane alone is a challenge which she accepts eagerly and hopes soon to win. We'll follow Anne with her instructor Mel Lind and experience some of the excitement of learning to pilot a plane. With good hard work, study, and perseverance, Anne will someday fly this plane alone. And we hope to have our cameras aboard to film this heart-throbbing experience. But first, let's get a close-up look at a student pilot being put through the paces. Let's watch Anne as she takes her orders from Mel and puts them into effect.
Okay.
Step it up just a fast. Okay, and you've completed your check now. Let's give the tower a call.
Santa Monica Ground Control, this is Cherokee 46 Whiskey. Ready for taxi instructions.
Cherokee 46 Whiskey, Santa Monica Ground Control, clear to runway 2.
Roger.
Okay, we got our instructions. Let's taxi out now.
For this flight, Anne will be at the controls, but Mel will be ready to take over should any problems develop. It's nice to know that we have a veteran pilot and instructor close at hand in time of need. Of course, if things go well, Anne will do all the flying. When our instructor is convinced she is ready, he'll give her the green light to solo.
Santa Monica Cherokee 46 Whiskey, ready for takeoff.
Cherokee 46 Whiskey, Santa Monica Tower, cleared for takeoff.
Roger.
Everything looks okay, so let's take off.
The New York World's Fair is a fascinating maze of spectacular displays, and we're about to witness some of this magic with movie and TV stars Harvey Lembeck, Annette Funicello, Frankie Avalon, and Buddy Hackett. First, it's to the Vatican Pavilion. After arriving, Annette and escort Jack Gallardi make their way inside to view some of the great works of Michelangelo, including this famed statue, Pieta, which is said to be one of his most stirring works. World's Fair truly has an international flavor, with most every major country in the world participating. These replicas of the Sistine Chapel, paintings by Michelangelo, are typical of Italian culture on display. And the next visit shows off one of America's greats, Walt Disney at work. Annette Funicello, one of the original Mouseketeers, renews acquaintances with an old and true friend, Mickey Mouse. Annette, incidentally, was signed for the series by Walt Disney himself after seeing her dancing a leading role in a ballet. Annette, Frankie Avalon, Buddy Hackett, and Harvey Lembeck, who have co-starred in a number of beach-type movies, were especially interested in the Bikini Beach set at the Hollywood Pavilion. The entire pavilion, showcase of famous sets and motion pictures, was revamped from its original look on the fair's opening day, with fresh ideas of showmanship to entertain the audiences. This drag racing car, or the rail as it's called, has been put on the Bikini Beach set. It played an important part in the film itself. Next, we move to the Gunsmoke set, and Buddy Hackett immediately gets himself into trouble. Seems they want him to hold a bullet while someone shoots it out of his hand. He does his best under the circumstances, and as usual, gets the audience in a happy mood. Now we head for the set of one of the most talked about motion pictures of our time, West Side Story. The ballet sequence is recreated for the benefit of the visitors. The movie version of West Side Story far surpassed all other motion pictures in the award-gathering category for that year, and has proven the mastery of the Hollywood filmmakers. 90% of the movie was made inside one of the great sound stages at Samuel Goldwyn Studios in Hollywood. This includes many of the New York exterior settings. Now we're at the set of the most expensive film spectacle ever produced, Cleopatra, starring Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton, and Rex Harrison. As the gladiators please the crowd, our party moves over to another set where a snake plays an important role. This is a good chance for comedian Buddy Hackett to clown a bit as he makes like one of the set's huge birds. Autograph signing is always part of the schedule whenever entertainers meet with a crowd, and this is no exception. Next, it's time for the familiar hand and footprint ceremony in the forecourt of the fair's own Grauman's Chinese Theater, a duplicate of the world-famous landmark in Hollywood. First to do the honors are Harvey Lembeck and Buddy Hackett, with an assist from Annette and Frankie. There are a number of stories as to how this ceremony was originated, but the one that seems to be the most widely accepted is that a famous star once accidentally stepped into some freshly poured cement, and owner Sid Grauman conceived the idea of making a traditional ceremony and a permanent honor to the stars. Besides feet and hands, the name is usually written. Harvey and Buddy do likewise. As the fair progresses, more and more of the stars will be invited to participate in this traditional honor. Now it's time for Annette and Frankie to get the feel of things. It's been a memorable day for the fans, as well as for our party of stars. And this final phase of the day's schedule brings the activities to a fitting close.
You know, it's getting to be a trademark now. Billy Wilder pictures make for controversy. The Apartment, Irma la Douce, now Kiss Me, Stu.
Even though the locale is supposed to be Las Vegas and the desert, most of the picture was filmed right here in Hollywood. For the big Las Vegas nightclub, they used the Moulin Rouge. Writers Louis Sobel, Sidney Skolsky, Joe Hyams, Burt Bacharach.
Phyllis Patel, Bill Slocum, Erskine Johnson, and Pierre Oppenheimer. And that's Billy Wilder. He's pretty quotable. You know, there's the standing thing about Ross Hunter, that he always gives his leading ladies their wardrobe when he's through. Well, Billy quoted, he says, he's not going to make a piker out of me. He gave Kim Novak her wardrobe, which amounted to about $8.95 in the open market. She only has 2 costume changes in the whole picture. One's a waitress uniform, and the other's a very simple print dress. Dean Martin plays a nightclub performer named Dino. It's pretty good casting. Andre Previn wrote the music score for the picture. Kim Novak wasn't working this day, but she appeared for the press, dressed a little fancier than she appears in the picture. That's Felicia Farr, Jack Lemon's wife, but in the picture she plays Ray Walston's wife. Songwriter Ira Gershwin, who wrote special lyrics for 3 songs in the film. That's Ira on the left. Dean Martin, Billy Wilder. In the picture, Kim Novak plays a character known Polly the Pistol. And most of the locale is the Belly Button Cafe. Now here's a part from the picture. Ray Walston, my favorite Martian. From the actual picture, this is a wild scene. Kiss me, stupid.
But now let's see how a veteran star carries out his own tradition. It's now a Hollywood legend for comedian Bob Hope to each year assemble a group of top stars to entertain American servicemen wherever they are in the world during war or peace. And personal danger, as indicated in this headline, doesn't frighten or deter Bob in the least. Let's go Hollywood backstage as Bob Hope and company prepare to leave on one of their famous overseas trips.
The powerful silver jet of the Military Air Transport Service will carry stars Jack Jones, Jerry Colonna, and Miss USA Diana Lynn Betts on a distant journey of good cheer. They, along with comedian Kay Stevens, are part of Bob Hope's annual overseas tour to entertain American servicemen. And this trip is marked by the presence of beautiful Carol Baker, who could be any soldier's buddy. And although Miss Baker does not usually lead bands, the sultry star sets the mood of fun and laughter for the days to come, much to the delight of the many well-wishers who've come to see them off. Now, Carol is one of the soldiers in grease paint, which of course means the perennial dog tags. It's not the usual glittering necklace to which she's accustomed, but they're necessary. And now the star of the show, Bob Hope. This was the 16th time the celebrated comedian has made the overseas tour, traveling thousands of miles and performing in frigid below-zero cold and stifling tropical heat in years of peace and times of combat. Bob exchanges well wishes with young inductees who could be his next year's audience, and then the delightful greeting of Carol Baker. Surrounding himself with beauty has always been an added feature of Bob's shows. After all, a laugh's a laugh, but a beautiful star, now that's something else. Many days of tedious rehearsals and the annoying shots have preceded this day of departure. Now, moments before takeoff, the entire cast assembles for a final barrage of photographs by fans, press, and the Army, and a few by Les Brown, whose band of renown has been a part of Bob's radio, television, and overseas shows for many years. The talent on this Jeep is worth millions of dollars. But for this worthwhile cause, each one volunteers their services and their time. Bob's been on the road for so many years and so often, both in his pictures and for these trips, nobody knows his permanent address. Joy Heatherton is another lovely accompanying Bob. And with Carol Baker and Kay Stevens, this particular tour has an abundance of beauty. And Bob might wonder if you'll be noticed at all, especially if Joy does this interact. But the troupe is perfectly proportioned with songs by Jack Jones, who's one of the most popular recording artists today, with comedy by Jerry Colonna, and with another favorite singing star, Anita Bryant. But now the time's come for departure. In just a few hours, this star-studded cast will again bring laughs, music, and beauty to a lonely American serviceman thousands of miles from home.
Every community has its yearly big bash for one charity or another, and Hollywood's no exception. In fact, they have quite a few here, and one of the biggest is the annual Cher Boomtown Party. Practically every star shows up and takes part, and tonight, you're going too. So let's go Hollywood backstage for the big show. When Hollywood does something, partner, they do it big, stupendous, gigantic, monumental. Pictures, stars, parties, and their hearts. That's how you describe it. Put them all together, and you've got one big story. Sid Caesar in Western outfit and Big John Wayne are early arrivals at the Santa Monica Civic Auditorium for the annual Cher Boomtown Party and Show. Now move closer to your TV sets because you're going to see more stars like Van Williams, who's the Green Hornet, more glamour like Katherine Grayson, Ann Miller, and Zsa Zsa than you ever see in one place, except maybe the Academy Awards, which are also held here, and some of the other award shows. But now, let's get down to business. And Zsa Zsa is some business to get to. Art Sachs of Hollywood Backstage and businessman Bernie Gittleson are pretty much impressed by this trio. Although Hollywood has many lavish parties, not too many are costume affairs, and Bob Culp with his Pocahontas take advantage and really do it up. Bob Horton, who's played many westerns in movies and television, looks pretty much in character. And here's one of the most dangerous of all western characters, Phil Silvers. Dean Martin is the show's MC, and you can be sure something funny's going to happen with Carl Reiner around. One Martin family deserves another. This is Tony and beautiful wife Sid Charisse, with directors Mervyn LeRoy and Vincent Minnelli. And then back to Dean with wife Jeannie and son Dino. Jackie Cooper and Bobby Darin have a friendly chat out front, while backstage, the busy activity of the show stars. Tony Franciosa with his wife Judy. Janet Leigh goes over a number with Alice Faye. Talk about all-star shows. Peter Falk, Howard Keel, and Dick Van Dyke. And two song and dance masters, Jack Benny and George Burns, rehearse. The third member of their trio is missing, but when you see him, you're going to be surprised, to put it mildly. Beautiful senorita in the gaucho outfit is Glenda Farrell. All these people are contributing their time and talents to this event. And if you'd like to put a cash value to the evening's entertainment, come up with more than $1 million. Out front, Cesar Romero and Peter Graves enjoy dinner, as do the three beauties, Anne, Catherine, and Zsa Zsa. Producer Marty Racken shares his share table with Batman. Come on, Adam West. We know who you are behind those dark glasses. And now it's showtime, and probably one of the biggest of all time, starting with the beautiful Cher Girls. These shows were started in 1958 by Cher to raise money for handicapped children. And in addition to the top stars who perform, many of their wives are part of this gorgeous chorus line. And behind the scenes, all the material and songs are written especially for the show by such award winners as Henry Mancini, Sammy Cahn, Jimmy Van Heusen, Johnny Mercer, and many more. Dean Martin is poured from a bottle. Now there's a switch for you. And the fun begins as the capacity audience, which now includes the general public, as well as society figures like Mr. and Mrs. Harry Lewis, see one of the greatest shows ever. And here's the big surprise. The song and dance team of George Byrne, Jack Benny, and John Wayne. Even Zsa Zsa's impressed, because no one's ever seen big, tough, hard-fighting John Wayne doing this kind of routine. And he's good. Backstage, Bob Newhart goes over his comedy routine, while out front, the audience is regaled in song by one of the great stars of all time, Nelson Eddy. Remember the pictures he made with Jeanette MacDonald? Well, now he performs in some of the biggest supper clubs in the country. Remember this hombre, Marvin Miller, who used to give away millions of dollars on television? Alice Faye brings back some marvelous memories of the pictures she made in the 30s and 40s. Now she's happily retired as Mrs. Phil Harris. It's the finale of the big show next, but don't go away because there's lots more to come. Since the inception of Cher, more than $1.5 million has been raised and donated to many charities dealing with handicapped children. Funds are raised by donations, premieres, and these annual affairs, which include the dinner and show, and immediately after, an auction, which Jack Lemmon, his wife Alicia Farr, and Phil Silvers are now attending. Doing the honors are Dean Martin, a professional auctioneer, and Janet Leigh. First item to go is a motorbike, valued at about $300. Hugh O'Brien, no slouch, paid $1,700 for it. But don't worry, Hugh, look at all the money you're going to save on gas. Enjoying it all are Barbara Rush and her husband, Warren Cowan, public relations executive. Jack Lemmon is yelling up a storm. And you would too if your wife was bidding thousands of dollars for a fur coat. Felicia's having more trouble out-shouting Jack than the other bidders. As you can see who wears the coat in the Lemmon family, Felicia wins and gets herself a brand new fur coat for something like $6,000. Yes, when Hollywood does something, especially for charity, they do it big. For the Cher girls, the Boomtown Party did it again. Hollywood premieres are always very exciting, bringing out the most glamorous stars and top personalities. But when United Artists premiered Viva Maria, that was something extra special. The star of the picture, Brigitte Bardot, made one of her very few trips to Hollywood, and the atmosphere was electrifying. Let's go Hollywood backstage for this rare night with Brigitte Bardot. France sends a superb champagne, Chevalier, even the inspiring Statue of Liberty. But when Brigitte Bardot came, ooh la la. Top stars like Troy Donahue and Edward G. Robinson were supporting celebrities the night Brigitte Bardot stole the spotlight from Hollywood. Jacques Bergeron. Another beard, actor-director Paul Henry. Angela Lansbury. And Lee Zavitz, award-winning special effects man who burned Atlanta for the picture Gone with the Wind. For
For the tremendous crowd and multitude of photographers, it was instant chaos. They pushed and shoved to see Brigitte in the flesh, or anyway in person. She was making one of her very few Hollywood appearances for the premiere of her picture, Viva Maria. First is the inevitable television interview. Her English isn't bad. It isn't good either. But with Brigitte, who wants to talk? If you haven't as yet, please notice the dress and matching coat. They're blushing peach, an appropriate color for Miss Bardot. An extra treat for the crowds and photographers, she models the dress. French and American relations couldn't be better. If only the Russians had something like this. Jody McCrae was there too. Brigitte had stopped first in New York. An exploding photographer's bulb made her a little gun-shy after that, so she canceled all press conferences and meetings with photographers in Hollywood. This was their only chance to see her. Viva Maria is almost a slapstick comedy in which Brigitte and her co-star Jean Moreau play female revolutionists in a Latin American banana republic. Brigitte and Jean could start a revolution in any country, bananas or no bananas. And that's just about how it was that dazzling night. At least, that's how it was when Hollywood answered with a Viva Bardot.
You just saw Carol Baker as she left with Bob Hope to entertain American servicemen. Now let's see Carol on the first day of filming of a multi-million-dollar motion picture. It was an electrifying day since she was portraying the title role in Joseph E. Levine's Harlow. The movie, based on the famous screen star's life, was made right here at Paramount Picture Studios. And the day was marked by a champagne press conference to introduce the star and the picture. Let's go calling on a star, Carol Baker, as she became Harlow.
Shades of the 1930s, but it's not. It's the first day of work on Joe Levine's Harlow, starring Carol Baker. And on this special press day, she's all decked out like the famous platinum blonde who was one of Hollywood's most exciting stars before untimely death in the late 30s. For Carol Baker, this is by far her biggest role. And that's a 1930 16-cylinder Cadillac touring special waiting for her. The dogs, purebred Russian wolfhounds. For Carol, the problem is trying to stay in that slinky white dress. And the color white is a color that Carol will live with for the duration of the making of this picture. White was the Harlow trademark. This gorgeous fur isn't hard to take either. Provided the set's air-conditioned, it can be like Furnace Creek under those lights. But now it's time for Carol to make her grand entrance for the press and the studio executives who are waiting for her. Naturally, this is not a typical working day in the life of an actress, but for a picture surrounded with so much talk, Paramount is pulling out all the stops to promote it. Studio head Howard Koch and producer Joe Levine will make the official greeting. When the casting was announced, Levine said that Carol was the only, and only was underlined, was the only actress in the world who was exactly right for Harlow. So couple this with the book Harlow, an intimate biography by Irving Shulman, and you get a small idea of the pressure that must have been on Carol. Now, on the extreme left, a man who is one of the legends of Hollywood, Adolph Zukor, who turned out especially for this occasion. Of course, the footprint ceremony is something right out of Sid Grauman's book. Carol signs her name in the block of cement with best wishes. Later, the cement block will become a part of the forecourt of Hollywood's famous Chinese theater. Now, all this took place outside one of the huge stages at Paramount. However, this is but a prelude to what's coming up. The first day shooting on the set and a champagne luncheon for the press. This particular scene is where Jean Harlow was picked out of a chorus line for fame and started. It sounds a little far-fetched, but this is the way it was in those days. Anything could happen, and it often did. Then it was possible for an extra to become a star, like Gary Cooper, like Jean Harlow. It's a little early for champagne and caviar, but that's what's on tap. And strawberries, too. You know, an interesting bit of statistics, Carol has exactly the same measurements as Jean Harlow did, 35, 24, 35. And Joe Levine said he spent 2 years researching the life of the famous Platinum Blonde. For Carol, it meant months and months of preparation, steeping herself in fact and legend. This is a long, long way from North Carolina, where Carol started her career as a dancer. Now she's the object of all eyes, not just from the more than 200 invited press guests and studio officials, but from the eyes of the most talented and skilled technical perfectionists. And the other actors, like Ralph Malone, who portrays her stepfather in the film. In an actress's life, there are many trying days, many demanding days, but for Carol Baker, can you imagine a day more charged with excitement and tension than this one? Harlow has become a woman of mystery. What more of a challenge can an actress have? Carol Baker had that challenge.
Hollywood has many unique ways of paying tribute to its stars. Some are very dignified, some very gracious. Others are hilariously funny and devastating to the recipient. These are called roasts, and we're going to take you inside these doors as some of the greatest comedians and celebrities in America put Dean Martin over the coals. Let's go Hollywood backstage as the Friars roast Dean Martin.
Watch out now. The big comedy guns of Hollywood are here tonight, and they're aimed and ready for a devastating attack on Mr. Looseness, Dean Martin. Frank Sinatra, Joey Bishop, Bill Cosby, Shirley MacLaine, Michael Caine, and Guy Marks are just a few of the many top celebrities who've come to roast the singer-actor at this $200 a plate dinner for the Friars, a show business fraternal organization founded by George Jessel. These private affairs really are an honor. And comedians Jack Carter, Alan Sherman, Pat Buttram, Jack Benny, and George Burns let loose a barrage of insults that would send anybody running. We had a chance to talk to some of these great stars before the dinner began.
Here's the fellow who started it all, Georgie Jessel. Georgie, can you give us a little bit of the history on the Friars?
Quickly, a little more than 10 years ago, I founded the Friars of California with the aid of all these fine actors and some lay people as well, like Harry Carl and many others. We were able to give more money to good causes than any other social club, I guess, that was ever in the whole world. And this dinner tonight is a very gala one to a well-loved fella, Dean Martin, and everybody you can think of is here. I'll see if I can get some of them over. Jack! Are we talking? Hold it. One of the great comedians of all times has flown from New York just for this occasion, and here he is, Jack Carter.
What I want to know is, do I get my fare back?
Where's the fellow go that just introduced you?
Georgie is going off now to Israel to plant another tree somewhere.
Jack, you make a lot of these affairs, and I know that you must enjoy them or you wouldn't come.
Oh, they're fun. They are fun. You get your best friends and you destroy them. Then you never see them again until the next affair.
Do you ever try out any material on these boys?
You just carry the paper. What happened? What?
He's here. I don't know
Oh,
what he's doing here.
sit in. I was holding your place
Dean,
until
congratulations.
the nearest
I don't know if I
appearance.
should say congratulations or not. How do you feel about this?
Oh, I feel fine. I could have been doing something else.
Do I get my fare home? That's what I want to know. Depends on how I do, right?
Excuse me, but the spy is here,
I'm
Bill
walking.
Cosby.
Bill Cosby's here, the spy.
I got a story here.
No, you mumble when you tell stories.
But I
He's a mumbler.
got to tell my story.
Tell you.
No, about the time.
No, I spy.
The worst story teller I've ever
It's
heard.
going to take long.
Oh, my heavens, I'll tell you. No, I tell great stories.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
There you go, Joey. What are you going to say about Dean tonight? Anything good?
Are they honoring Dean? They're really going through with it?
A lot of people showed up for him.
I don't think they're going to finally honor him. I think it's just a standby. That's my honest opinion.
How long have you known Dean?
I just met him a few hours ago. I've known him a long time. The truth of the matter is, but he doesn't recognize me. I've known him for about 20 years, but he never recognizes me. He drinks a lot.
The party moves to the huge international ballroom as dinner is about to be served and Martin's about to be roasted. There's the team of McLean and Kane again. Monies raised from these events are used to help underprivileged children. This is probably one of the greatest collections of comedians in one place, and even stars like Anthony Quinn are impressed. But now to the head table and some of tonight's talented troublemakers. Guy Martin, Corbett Monica, Master of Insult Don Rickles, Jack Carter, and Red Buttons. Contrast to this awesome collection are Petite Debbie Reynolds and gracious Agnes Moorehead. Sinatra is the leader, the chairman of the board, one of the most powerful people in show business. But tonight, he's second banana to his close friend. Now Dean enters. Even though this is all in fun, and a lot of hilariously disparaging remarks will be made about him, this is an honor and a tribute. And two very proud people are Dean's wife, Jeannie, and his son, Dino. They have 7 children, which certainly deserves applause. You know, if Dean's family alone buys his records or sees his TV show, he's got to be a hit. How'd you like to have this collection of comics take pot shots at you? Most of the Friar roasts are held behind closed doors with material a little too delicate for the ears of women and children. Only men are allowed at those. But tonight is family night, if they're broad-minded. And ladies like Debbie Reynolds and Mia Farrow are certainly welcome, if they're broad-minded. The last course of the gourmet dinner is served, vanilla ice cream cake. And it's the last sweetness to be in evidence tonight. The speeches are about to begin. Someone might say something nice about Dean, but I doubt it. The barrage is fast, furious, and funny, one after another. Joey Bishop tries an ad-lib on Harry Carl, Debbie Reynolds' husband and president of the Friars. Frank Sinatra scores with a parody that's as funny as any of the comics at times. And now it's the climax. It's Dean's turn. Taking notes, columnist Sidney Skolsky, Abe and Belle Greener. But now Dean, in his casual manner, slow drawl, with tears in his eyes, responds, "I couldn't have done this for a nicer guy." And sincere thanks for the tribute everyone feels well-deserved. Although it was done in the unique show business way, it's an honor to be dragged over the coals by some of the world's greatest comedians in one of the funniest nights Hollywood's seen in a long time. The Friars' Dean Martin Roast. Hollywood premiere is like nothing else in the world, and when the picture is from a great Broadway show, then you can be sure of a big evening. The opening night of The Unsinkable Molly Brown is no exception. Stage and screen star Horst Buckholz is one of the early arrivals. Sam Jaffe of Ben Casey follows close behind. But for sheer glamour, Natalie Wood brings immediate attention from the thousands of spectators and photographers who throng Hollywood's exotic Egyptian theater. While all eyes may be on Natalie, they listen to the words of Hollywood columnist Army Archard as he interviews the very fine actor, Mr. Carl Malden. Arriving next is beautiful Connie Stevens with husband Jim Stacy. At the microphone now, Natalie Wood. But then the crowd explodes with the appearance of another great favorite, Richard Chamberlain, television's Dr. Kildare. And Dick makes a big hit with his fans as he mixes with them, shaking hands and acknowledging their good wishes. This will always be a highlight of the Hollywood premiere for the fans and Richard Chamberlain, too. Now the star arrives, Debbie Reynolds, in one of the biggest parts of her career, the vivacious, bubbling Debbie Reynolds, star of Molly Brown, a Broadway smash that has now been made into a motion picture. And with Debbie, introducing to the screen the great new talent of Harve Presnell. Bob Cummings gets in just under the wire as Debbie and Harve are being interviewed. But time is short now as inside the theater, the lights dim and the curtain's about to go up for the first night showing of the unsinkable Molly Brown. Lots of music, lots of dancing, a lot of entertainment. In the forecourt of the theater following the movie is a lavish cocktail party. Nick Adams with Beard and his lovely wife, Carol. Connie Stevens and Jim Stacy. They all make their way to the Punch Bowl to relax, to talk to their friends and talk about the picture. There's the always stunning and one of Hollywood's greatest dancers, Ann Miller. George Hamilton was one of the first-nighters. Another first-nighter was a fellow with a cigar and a camera, Ken Murray. That's Mrs. Murray, Betty Lou, directing Ken's filming. Ken's cigar used to be his trademark, but now it's his home movie camera. And what better target could there be than Natalie Wood? Very few can stand out in the crowd as does this beautiful young actress, but there's no mistaking her. The star of tonight's picture, Debbie Reynolds, excited and happy, accepting the congratulations of her friends and fans. Debbie delights the autograph seekers. Hollywood Star Newsreel has taken you to another dazzling Hollywood premiere. This, the gala opening of The Unsinkable.
Feel like getting all dressed up? Well, you don't have to, but the rest of Hollywood did the night they showed The Torn Curtain at a private screening at the Screen Directors Guild.
Hello, how are you? Let me tell you what happened to me shouldn't happen to a dog. First of all, I'm an excellent tailor, maybe the best in Hollywood. And I heard something about a torn curtain at the Screen Directors Guild. So I went, and what do I find but this little sweetie, Carol Channing, playing crazy games. But let me tell you about Eddie Robinson. He had on a suit you wouldn't believe. The old tough guy was really a dandy. The fellow with him is a publicity man, Chuck Moses. He dresses pretty good, too. So, there came all kinds of movie stars like George Peppard and his lovely wife, Elizabeth Ashley, in a gorgeous outfit. And another very beautiful lady, I admire the way she dresses, Barbara Rush. So anyway, they're taking a lot of pictures of the stars who are coming here for whatever they're coming here for, like Beatrice Lilly, who dresses very English. Let me tell you, being a tailor, I know so much about clothing, I feel like a regular Edith Head. So, I go inside with this little dolly and look around pretty good. Hey, there's Don Knotts. Very funny fella. Well, all I can see is a lot of torn programs, but no torn curtains. I looked all over the Directors Guild, which is a very beautiful place, and I couldn't even find a torn button. Then the lights went out, and there was on the screen some kind of movie with Paul Newman and Julie Andrews. So I went out to look around, look some more for this torn curtain. And lo and behold, they were preparing out there what looked like a banquet for a king. They had silver and chinaware you wouldn't believe. In the meantime, I checked every single curtain in the place, and not one of them was torn. And before I knew it, everybody came out of the theater, and all the tables came in. And like I said, this was a banquet for a king, or a queen, because there were a lot of beautiful ladies there, with beautiful clothes. Hey, there's a fella who's a swell actor, Sam Jaffe, with his wife. But Sam, you made the hair too long. So let me tell you, friends, I was very frustrated because I couldn't find a single torn curtain, not even a worn curtain. But they were serving a lot of drinks and great food, so I decided to stay just a few more minutes and have what we called some victuals. So I put my needle in my pocket and had some of the grilled hamburgers and the wonderful Chasen's chili, which is seasoned just right and topped off with dessert. Then I went to find a table. Now, I told you this was a banquet for a king. I wasn't kidding you. The first table I run into has all the big shots from MCA and Universal Pictures, and at the head of the table was the head of the whole thing, Jules Stein. He's the chairman of the board. How this fella came to the Universal dinner, I'll never know. His name is Jeff Livingston, who happens to work for United Artists. What a business. Well, it was a swell party, but to this day, I still haven't found a torn curtain. You wouldn't believe it.
Well, on this edition of Hollywood Backstage, we've shown you a little bit of everything. Right now, let's go on the set of the making of the motion picture, Divorce American Style.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have come to plead my case for Columbia Pictures. All the people before you, Dick Van Dyke, Pat Collins, John J. Anthony, and Van Johnson, are involved in a divorce case. The action is called Divorce American Style, which is not necessarily a funny situation, but it is a very funny picture because of people like Pat Collins, who is known as the hypnotist, and Dick Van Dyke, who is the defendant in this particular action. And of course, there's Van Johnson, who is returning to the screen after 3 years' absence for this case, picture. Now, you talk about typecasting. This is John J. Anthony. Remember him on the radio as the man who took care of everybody's problems. He's in this picture, too, and here comes the plaintiff, Debbie Reynolds. She picks on poor Dick Van Dyke. Now, all of the witnesses, characters, are at the Gaslight Club for what is known in Hollywood as location shooting. That is, ladies and gentlemen, a place away from the studio where a particular scene is to be photographed. Or, as they say in legal terms, the scene of the crime. Now, the entire cast has been subpoenaed by the judge, a director for this scene, which, as you will soon see, is very colorful and very pertinent to the action before you. Pat Collins' glasses belong in a case by themselves. Now, if you please, we'll take you inside where the action is to commence. And as you can see, there are many people who are involved, and because this is for a major motion picture and in color, Miss Collins and Miss Reynolds go through the routine of makeup. Not fingerprints, mind you, merely makeup. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that Miss Reynolds, looking very lovely, does not influence your decision. Women do tend to do that, you know. For those of you who might not know, Pat Collins is actually a hypnotist, and she has one of the most successful nightclub acts in the country. I wonder why she keeps saying to me, sleep, you're going to sleep. Sleep. They're about to photograph a dance sequence with Miss Reynolds, who is going over the routine with the choreographer, while director Bud Yorkin instructs Pat Collins on her part, while the assistant director tries to wake the extras up because Pat Collins did put them all to sleep. Sleep. And besides, they're all needed for the scene about to be shot. Miss Collins and Miss Reynolds spend a few moments going over lines, while director Bud Yorkin and the camera crew make their final setup for the scene, which features the aforementioned Miss Reynolds in a magnificent dance sequence. Now, as Miss Reynolds goes through her routine, the cameraman checks every angle of the picture, of course, which makes his a very difficult job. I must tell you that Debbie is a very sedate, conservative girl who is getting a lot of alimony. And in this scene, which, as you can see, is in a nightclub, she is hypnotized by Pat Collins. And she does a very suggestive striptease. Need I say anything else to you, ladies and gentlemen? Not only does she win her case, but she wins back her husband, and they live happily ever after. So I sum up for my client, Columbia Pictures, who have gone through great expense and much time to prove to you that only in the movies can a funny thing be made out of divorce, American style.
On Hollywood Backstage, we've never promised you that we'd show you everything. But by golly, we've come darn close to it. And we do now when we take you to a spy convention.
Shh. We're going on a secret mission following Agent 86 and the Chief. In fact, it's so secret, we don't even know what's going on. We're just tailing these two, and it's pretty hard since we're in the car with them. But they haven't discovered us yet. We picked up the traces at 86's secret hideaway. Uh-oh, watch out for this fellow. He looks very crafty. Anyway, his hideaway was really hard to find. We looked it up in the yellow pages of the phone book. We're driving down the Sunset Strip to a secret rendezvous. Be careful of what you say. The steering wheel is really a hidden microphone. We're turning off the strip and heading up Sunset Plaza Drive, which takes us into the Hollywood Hills. Probably another hideaway. This could be very dangerous. It's probably a big international spy ring. Chief, this is no laughing matter. And in the usual 86 Maxwell Smart manner. Very inconspicuously. Now we're sneaking up on the hideout. This is the house. 86 and the Chief inch their way to the door very quietly, singing, "Mares eat dotes and dozy dotes and little lambs eat ivy." And that scares... Oops, it's only Agent 99. Sorry about that. Well, let's get back in the car with the three of them because we now know for sure that something really big is going to happen now that all of them are in on it. Be careful of the steering wheel. It's really a secret camera. By the way, we're such good spies, we know their real names. Agent 86 is Don Adams, alias Maxwell Smart. 99 is Barbara Felton. And the Chief is Ed Platt. Incidentally, be careful of what you say to 99. Her earrings are really shortwave antennas. Again, very inconspicuously, we're driving this time down Wilshire Boulevard at 4 miles an hour. I still don't trust this guy. And now we drive into the Ambassador. Aha! I wonder whose ambassador. We pull up to the door and everybody gets out. 86, 99, the Chief. Hey, where'd those two girls come from? I thought it was pretty crowded in there. Now it all becomes even more intriguing because we follow them into the embassy. I wonder which one. And holy big crowd, it's a convention. A spy convention with real spies from the CIA, the TVA, the AAA, and the SPCA. This is an honest-to-goodness meeting of the best secret agents having a secret convention. Nobody is supposed to pay attention to that big sign in the lobby. For dinner, they're being served 4 different flavors of Chinese fortune cookies, each with a different message. They'll all be hungry in an hour, but at least they'll get the message. They do get a special dessert, and only Agent 86 can get this messed up. He also ate the messages in the cookies before he read them. The spies used a very ingenious method of passing on information. Dancing. And then Agent 86 was called to the dais and asked, "Do you have any last words?" This is another famous spy who wasn't invited but came anyway. He's the man from NUTS. This is all very serious, but Agent 86 thinks it's very funny. That's because someone handed Ed Platt the bill for the whole convention. Sorry about that, Chief.
There are many ways famous Hollywood stars are immortalized in Hollywood. Footprints at Grauman's, stars on Hollywood Boulevard, and oil paintings by renowned artists. But one of the most unique is the Movieland Wax Museum, which enshrines the great stars in their most famous roles in full life-size wax figures. Today, the honor is bestowed on one of the best-known actors in the world, Edward G. Robinson, and his characterization of Little Caesar. Typical of Hollywood, Mr. Robinson makes his grand entrance in a gold Rolls Royce. Host for the ceremony is the director of that film, Little Caesar, Mervyn LeRoy. Robinson, who wears a beard now, joins a great cast of screen favorites, whose likenesses appear at the museum, which is about 30 miles from Hollywood. The museum is one of the big tourist attractions in the Hollywood area. That's Marilyn Monroe. Eventually, all the great Hollywood stars will be represented here. William Powell and Myrna Loy, who in the 30s teamed for a very successful series of Thin Man mystery pictures. Tyrone Power in a scene from Blood and Sand. Little Caesar was made in the 1930s by Warner Brothers as one of the films about the gangster era. These pictures made stars of Jimmy Cagney, Humphrey Bogart, George Raft, and the little tough guy with a cigar in his mouth, Edward G. Robinson. All right, you guys, I'm the boss here, see? That was Little Caesar. It's probably the best remembered role of that time. It scared a lot of people. There are other celebrities who have come to join in this tribute to Robinson, distinguished actor Sam Jaffe, and the District Attorney of Los Angeles, Evel Younger, whose earlier counterparts were the dreaded enemy of the tough guy. Today, Mr. Younger shares in bestowing the honor. It proves the law always wins. Here's a junior-sized Little Caesar. All right, you guys, I'm the boss here, see? Anybody who crosses me up's in trouble, see? Edward G. Robinson, one of Hollywood's most distinguished and respected actors. But this replica brings back fond memories of many years ago, of the role that's one of his favorites, the one that made him a star.
Now for a gala premiere in the true Hollywood tradition for the movie The Spy Who Came In From the Cold, followed by a private premiere party held at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. First, let's go to the premiere at the Warner Theater in Hollywood, then return to the Beverly Hills Hilton to continue a very festive evening.
What a night this was. The Spy Who Came In From the Cold gave Hollywood one of the hottest nights of the year, although it took place on a very chilly winter evening. For me, it was double duty, interviewing on television the biggest stars in Hollywood, and there were so many stars it was like the who's who of the town. Doug McClure, Ed Burns, his wife Asa Maynard, comics Allen and Rossi, Sue Ann Langdon. You know, premieres are usually for the benefit of a worthy cause, and this one has Kay Gable, along with Mr. Leo Hirsch, representing the San Fernando Valley Child Guidance Clinic. The producer-director of the picture, Marty Ritt. And this is Clint Walker. And is he a big one? Ritt and Paramount Studio head Howard Koch discussed the movie based on the thrilling bestseller that fascinated readers all over the world. You know, as I was interviewing Carolyn Jones in Red Buttons, I heard this big roar from the crowd, and that meant only one thing. The Burtons had arrived. Now, that's an usher, not a guard. But getting back to the Burtons, this was my treat. They were very gracious and charming. Richard Burton, the role he has in the picture is far different from any he's ever played. One he said he found very challenging. Miss Taylor, wrapped in that chinchilla, was naturally very proud of her husband, as well she might be. This choice and much wanted part was first offered to Burt Lancaster, who couldn't accept, but Burton was delighted when it was given to him. And then, much too soon, it was thank you, Miss Taylor, and Mr. Burton, and the interview was over. Regretfully, I turned them back to the crowd. The picture's setting is Cold War Germany, and for the engagement, the Warner Theater decorated its exterior in the atmosphere of the Berlin Wall. Patrons, as you saw, past Checkpoint Charlie, leave the American sector and are seated by ushers dressed as German guards. Two of the most colorful celebrities to attend were Sonny and Cher, attired in unique and exclusively designed matching outfits of blue suede. That's tough to top. You'll hear an exclusive interview with them in just a few moments as we leave the premiere for the gay festivities of the private party which follows at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. Yes, this was quite a night. The gala party matched the premiere and the attendance of stars and celebrities, all part of the fundraising event. And there was the frenzied dancing done by the veteran actor Ed Begley as a highlight to this thing, too. He was kicking up his heels like he was 20 years old. British actor Michael Caine with Nancy Sinatra weren't going to compete. They just sat it out. Sonny and Cher arrived, and what a commotion they caused. Autographs from the adults, naturally for the youngsters. As Stuart Whitman arrived, we joined Sonny and Cher for this exclusive interview.
Sonny and Cher, I've got to ask you, first of all, for my own curiosity's sake, where are you from and how did you start?
Well, I was born in Los Angeles, and I started by meeting Sonny.
Well, I was born in Detroit, but I've been out here most of my life, so I consider myself a Los Angelesite. And I have been in the record business much longer than Cher, and then when we got together, we sort of generated each other. She was my inspiration, and it was just something that worked, you know, something that was right, and we pursued the music business, and here we are, knock on wood.
Well, the something, that's the part that's so intriguing. What is it?
I don't know. It just happened. It's just timing and talent, I think, and...
Have you ever tried to analyze it yourself?
No, I haven't. He has, but it's too hard for me to figure out.
Sonny, what do you think?
I think it's a combination of things. I think timing, of course, is very important, and then the fact that we're a married couple has a big bearing on our success, because all our fan mail, kids are very happy that we're married and that we love each other. And I think the kids like this symbol, to see two people married that really, really do enjoy each other and love each other. And they like the music and the way we dress. They like the fact that we wear colorful clothes, and we do too. You know, that's us, and that was really us. And I think it's several elements. Plus, you must have those songs
I hope you won't take offense at this, but when I see you, I think of something out of King Arthur's Knights of the Round Table as a page. Is that? No. Did you ever think about that?
No.
That's a nice compliment.
Yeah, that's one of the nicest. I never thought about it. What did Jackie Kennedy said? Something very similar.
Similar. She said he looked very Shakespearean.
That's it, Shakespearean, or something out of medieval England.
And I enjoy it.
Just a little behind the times, that's all.
And I enjoy it.
How long do you think that I'm sure you're asked this many times. Do you think this will last? Not your popularity. I'm not talking about you personally. I mean, the mode, the folk song, the thing.
I think it'll.
Said about Elvis Presley.
I think it'll last. It'll vary, of course. Everything varies, and it'll go to different styles and different things. We must change our style occasionally. You can't keep going with the same identical sound all the time or the same type of songs all the time. Otherwise, you're not fresh anymore. So if you stay fresh, you should have longevity with it, you know.
Thank you, Sonny and Cher.
Now, back to the party and the dancing. In addition to stars like Suzanne Plachette and Bill Bixby, benefit premieres and parties attract a variety of the community's citizens, anxious to mingle with top stars in addition to contributing to a worthwhile cause. Good friend Mal Klein, Los Angeles television executive, was there, as well as many other business, political, and socially prominent people, for whom an affair like this is an opportunity to get close and mingle with the glamorous stars who attend. That's Peter Ford, Glenn Ford's son, with his pretty date. And Don Hartunian, Los Angeles business executive, with his wife. Miss Taylor and Mr. Burton couldn't attend the party because actually she wasn't feeling too well that night. She did go to the premiere, but she just begged off on the party. A lot of people ask me, is that Marty Allen's real hair? Yes, it is. Well, that's just about it for us, chatting with Nancy Sinatra and Michael Caine now. This has been quite a night.
They are perhaps the most talked about and photographed couple of this generation of film personalities, or perhaps of all time. Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. They have been Hollywood's headlines for many years, adored by fans, chased by photographers. But how much of their backgrounds do you remember? How much of the creative history that brought them to #1 do you recall? Hollywood Backstage offers you this portrait of Elizabeth and Richard. They both were born in the British Isles. She in London on February 27, 1932. He as Richard Jenkins in the coal mine country of South Wales, November 10, 1925. When Miss Taylor was 3 years old, she danced for another Elizabeth, the princess, who was to become the Queen of England. Mr. Burton was forced into education by an older sister. At a very early age, he discovered Shakespeare. And from this came the dream of leaving the coal mines and going into the world as an actor. Miss Taylor, as a beautiful child, came to America before the start of World War II. In 1943, she was signed by MGM and made her screen debut in Lassie Come Home, followed by National Velvet, Life with Father, Little Women, Father of the Bride, A Place in the Sun. And in 1957, she was nominated as Best Actress for Raintree County. In 1958, another nomination for Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. And again in 1959 for Suddenly Last Summer. Finally, in 1960, she won the coveted award for Butterfield 8. Richard Burton left the coal mine country and made quite a name for himself on the London stage after education at Oxford. And then to Hollywood for pictures like My Cousin Rachel, The Robe, for which he was nominated as Best Actor. And then, in 1961, they both made a film called Cleopatra. Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, two of the world's most exciting personalities. I want to show you something different. The little-known talent of one of Hollywood's most beautiful and talented actresses. Let's go Hollywood Backstage for a most unusual art exhibit. Elka Summer, in a very short period of time, has become one of Hollywood's best and most famous actresses. Yet Elka's other talent is bringing her equal fame and acclaim. She's now considered a fine painter and sculptress. Her works have earned her an exhibition at the United Design Associates Gallery in Beverly Hills. Her work ranges from these precise figurines to oil paintings to intricate block paints. Although this may be a hobby, Elke's very serious about it, and she's very good at it, too. She joins many of Hollywood stars who expand their creative energies into this art, either as painters or as collectors. Kim Novak, Vincent Price, Tony Curtis, Edward G. Robinson, to name just a few. With Elka, though, in the scene, it's a little hard to concentrate on the paintings, but we're going to force ourselves. Incidentally, you know, an interesting story I heard, and I don't know if it's true or not, but not too long ago, a famed art critic wanted to come up and do an interview with her. Well, they told him he might be a little shocked because she does her painting out in the backyard. And being very practical, in order that she doesn't get any paint on her clothes, she doesn't wear any. Now, I don't know if the story's true or not, but that's what they said. Now, Elka gives this particular painting to UNICEF to be reproduced as an Easter card. This exhibition of Elka Summer paintings was originally scheduled for a very short engagement, but the public response was so great it was held over for more than a month. That's Jerome Zerg, head of the gallery. Elka Summer, a unique person in her versatility, being in oils, in wood carving, and in metal engraving. A talent to be envied even by recognized artists. For Elka, art is a very serious part of her life. Elka paints just for herself. She says she doesn't paint commercially, and like everybody else who dabbles in painting, she paints what she likes. And if others like it, well, that's fine. This is a work in metal of Christ carrying the cross. Notice the detail. This is very good. At least I think it's very good. Elka Summer,
She's quite a girl, isn't she? Chinese Theater, where premiere is taking place, will also dissolve to esteemed Chinese colleague who will tell rest of story. Thank you. Welcome to big premiere of picture Fantastic Voyage. Many celebrities here tonight, like Jacques Bergerac. That not theater, that's where they sell tickets. I wonder if this Julie Newmar comes to premiere on Japanese motorbike. Welcome Mr. George Montgomery. And very funny young lady comes and signs autographs for fans. Her name, Carol Burnett. And she is on television many times. It is a pleasure and a joy for these fans to have the big stars stop to sign names. It is old Chinese custom, you know. Here comes very famous man, Mr. Rex Harrison. He very big star all over the world. Very popular in Hong Kong. Can hear crowd at theater shouting old Chinese greetings to Mr. Harrison. Things like, hello, Rex. And, hey, Rex, baby. Then, another very popular gentleman appeared from out of dark night, Adam West, who appears on television as the Batman. First, they take pictures of Mr. Batman. And then, like big hero he is, went to many fans to sign autographs. And he wrote his name with Chinese ink. It disappeared in 1 hour. While Mr. Batman signs autographs, I must tell you that premiere is for a movie made by 20th Century Fox called Fantastic Voyage, and it's a very expensive science fiction picture. It is said to be a very exciting movie. And so is very exciting night here at Grumman's Chinese Theater, also a famous Hollywood landmark. It is said the proper thing at big premiere is for star and producer and director to show up. And so it is. We introduce you to Stephen Boyd, producer Saul David, and director Richard Fleischer. And now, of course, Mr. Boyd must oblige many people who have come and signed his autograph. But now, important moment has come, and someone has called, all aboard, and everybody go inside. Fantastic Voyage.
Now a complete change of pace as we go to dinner. And perhaps one of the most respected segments of Hollywood society, certainly one of the largest, is the Foreign Press Brigade. Let's go to their annual dinner and see what goes on.
Eyesight there. The gentleman you're looking at is the British star Richard Attenborough, who will be the main speaker here at the installation dinner of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. Other guests are Anne Francis and Katie Arado, the bona fide Count Amy DeMauro and his Countess, Bertil Unger, the association's chairman, and his lovely lady of the evening, Olga Korzun. Miss Agnes Moorhead brings Mr. Attenborough to the microphone, and he makes a smashing speech. Pardon, monsieur, but this is not an entirely English affair. There are those of us who are French. There are Italians. See how you like it at Anna Francis with Cari Jurado. Is she Italian? Cari Jurado is Mexican. Si, senor. That's too bad. Well, Abe Greenberg, the columnist, says he's not Italian. Hey, fellas, look at that. Hedy Lamarr. Mamma mia. Ooh la la. I sigh. Oy vey. Who said that? Hey, that's a guy I know is Italian. He's Saverio Medical, and he's an Italian correspondent. He's a very big man here. Gentlemen, if I might continue telling the story. What's sure, kid? First, let me introduce these nice people who are special guests. Let me see now, from left to right. Dan Worley, who's a famous designer. Irwin Franklin. Miss Ellen Cole, Hollywood Backstage den mother. And Mr. and Mrs. Eric Franklin. Cari Jurado isn't Italian, huh? No, senor. Oh, that's too bad. Gentlemen, please. Now, as you can see, the ceremony of installing the new officers is completed, and now all the guests will enjoy the social part of the evening. Hey, that's a famous Greek actor, Stathis Gioulelis. See? Oh, senors, there she is again. Ooh la la. She's not, no, Eddie Lamar's not Italian. But I do say, look at this smashing little thing. Her name is Marcia Mayo, and she's a looker. Mamma mia. Look at that. Oodaloo. Oh, boy. Oy vey. Who said that? Who's that lucky fellow? His name is Stan Morris, and he's a public relations man. Guests this gala evening included Mrs. Addie Mannix. All the guests here this evening are honoring the transfer of the presidency of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association from this exuberant Bertil Unger to Mr. Herbert Luff, who will have the position for the next year. Now, note this gorgeous gown made in Britain, you know. I beg your pardon. That's from a Rome design. Oh, messieurs, you are both wrong. That was created by a brilliant Parisian designer. Oy vey. Who said that? By the way, I should tell you that next to our Golden Globe Awards, this is the big smashing evening of the year. Magnifique. Molto grande. Oy vey. Cut that out.
We're here at Producer Studios in Hollywood, and this is the Fireball 500, a custom-made stock car that's the star of an exciting motion picture. We're going to take you behind the scenes and show you how they made this picture. So let's go Hollywood backstage for the filming of Fireball 500. Rev up your engines and your eyeballs, because we're taking you on location of an exciting sports car picture starring Frankie Avalon and Fabian, and a lot of racing cars known only by numbers. This is the location shooting for American International Fireball 500, which also stars Annette Funicello. Hollywood Backstage was invited to photograph the behind-the-scenes action of the making of this picture, with its racing and fight scenes and all the other activities. And that shows me car 81 with its roll bars, which is very nice if you plan on turning over. High-powered engines are in all the cars, and the racing scenes will actually be shot for the picture instead of using stock shots of real races. And extra attention is given to make sure everything's in perfect condition. Young Patty Chandler is also featured in the movie, and she's more interested in her hairstyles and wigs than in engines. Most of the stars of the picture have appeared together before in a series of successful beach and surfing pictures, and again the director is William Asher, who goes over a scene with Fabian and Frankie, while I spend a little time with some of the girls, and you have to admit they're prettier than the engines. This location shooting is taking place at the Ascot Raceway in Gardena, California, which is an actual speedway. And there's a lot of waiting as scenes are set up. These girls are in costume, and now I know what they mean by it pays to advertise. Frankie and Fabian spend their waiting time to marvelous advantage as Julie Parrish does some modeling for them. They may never get back to work. Harvey Lembeck plays the bad guy in the picture, and he looks like he's selling one of the cars, while Frankie rehearses a fight scene. Meanwhile, Patty's warming up. Frankie and Fabian compete for Annette in the picture, and you know they have to end up in a fight, which they practice with a stuntman, while Patty goes on with her exercises. Maybe she winds up in the fight. No, I guess not. It looks like they're making up.
But Patty still wants to fight. Well, a full morning of rehearsing, exercising, doing a few scenes, and waiting means hearty appetites, and Fabian gets to the chow line to load up. And he's got a lot of company. I hope they save me some at the end of that line. Chill Wills, another of the picture stars, gets a big helping of prime rib, salad, and potatoes. And if you want, you can come back for seconds. After lunch, under the bright sun, a race sequence is shot, and the cars take off. This means a little clowning with Chill and Bill Asher. Chill thinks that'd make a good cowboy. And who knows, we might have a new team. Wills and Willis, the country cousins. Thanks anyway, Chill, but it doesn't do a thing for me. Car 44 has the word bakery on it, and I'm not sure if it's going to be in a race or deliver hot rolls. But it's taking off to do something. Co-producer of the picture, Bert Topper, fills me in on more information, while the Hollywood Backstage cameras now follow one car in a trial run. Our cameraman's a pretty brave fellow because he got inside to take these pictures. But for the driver, this is a breeze. When they start shooting the scene and the race is on, the traffic gets pretty thick. Stock car racing is said to be the second largest spectator sport in America, second only to basketball. Incidentally, Frankie and Fabian both went to school together in Philadelphia, and they were both discovered by the same man, Bob Marcucci. As the camera sets up for the next shot, producer Topper goes over a few things with the stuntmen. These are two of the best in the business. Jack Catron also works as an actor. The big star of the picture is this custom racer called Fireball 500. And it seems to be getting as much attention as Fabian. In addition to the racing and love story, the picture also has moonshining, a big, colorful county fair with belly dancing, and a lot of pretty girls. Director Bill Asher has called attention on a scene, and I find a nice ladder to perch on for a good vantage point. The ducks didn't get a part in the picture, but their adornment of the raceway are an added attraction for Julie Parrish. In addition to Julie, 8 Playboy playmates are also in the picture. Patty's had enough exercising for the day, so she spends a few minutes dropping a line to her boyfriend. But now we have to write a finish to the behind-the-scenes filming of the action-packed movie Fireball 500.